Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kevin Connell. We're going to be covering your fire safety training for the fire warden roles today. This is going to cover for the clinical staff and non-clinical staff. So, the role of the fire warden then. Everyone has responsibilities for fire safety in the workplace. In addition, the fire warden will be responsible for all fire safety duties in their own ward or department. The fire warden role is firstly to assist in promoting fire safety within the workplace, and secondly to assist in carrying out the workplace fire evacuation plan safely and effectively. The fire warden duties should be carried out without putting yourself and others at risk, whilst remembering no one expects you to do anything that puts you at risk from leaving the building safely. So the fire warden role then involves a day-to-day fire safety role, primarily to act as the eyes and ears of the trust, fire safety team, and promoting good practice in reporting fire safety issues. And when the fire alarm sounds, acting quickly and swiftly in establishing the need to implement the fire evacuation plan. So we've got a few examples of a fire evacuation that was underway in recent hospital fires. One was the Lincolnshire Pilgrim Hospital, March 2017, where a fire broke out in the kitchen area. It was a fridge, and fire quickly spread through a door that was wedged open. This is why we're always telling you to keep the doors closed. 9 staff were treated for smoke inhalation. Fire also broke out through the windows. Once it breaks out through the windows, then it's travelling upwards and it's going in through the windows. So there was a lot of smoke damage to the lift and lobby area, and significant disruption to ongoing services at the hospital. And Christie Hospital in Manchester, there was a full evacuation there. Patients from the main hospital also had to be evacuated, and again disruption to hospital services. And these are some of the pictures from that evacuation. So you've got to think about ongoing patient care. These patients have been brought out into an open area. Luckily it's not raining, but the weather that we've had lately, a lot of driving rain, this could be detrimental to people's health. So you need to think about ongoing patient care, even if you have to utilise ambulances in a serious situation. So the normal day-to-day role then involves monitoring fire escapes. You need to make sure that your fire escapes are clear, that your doors leading to the outside work effectively, that there's nothing obstructing them. Good housekeeping. We don't want to find combustible materials all over the place. Boxes on the corridors, loads of paperwork up against electrical equipment. And your extinguishers quite often will come around, and some of your extinguishers are behind furniture. So in a fire situation, people are not going to be able to see this, so you need to make sure that they are clearly visible and accessible. Assisting in routine fire safety workplace inspections, assisting the fire team in routine fire drills where applicable, and your PEEPs. You may have people coming into your area that you may have to fill out personal emergency evacuation plan. This will be for people that may be in wheelchairs. If you're on the 3rd floor, can you get them out safely? You may have to put them in a holding area until they can be evacuated. You may have somebody that's deaf. What happens if the fire alarm goes off? They're not going to hear it. So you need to be setting out a plan, formulating a plan for these people. So should the fire alarm activate, then you can focus on these people. You need to be looking for these people. And liaising with other fire wardens in your area. So don't forget, if you get a continuous alarm in your area, in the clinical areas, other fire wardens will be coming to your assistance from other areas. Non-clinical areas, you'll be just going through your evacuation process. The fire logbook then, your checks. So these need to be done on a daily and a weekly basis. So your means of escape then, as you can see there, no, it's not a very good picture, but it shows you the week commencing. So you put the week commencing, I don't know, 1st of June. Try to put the year in as well, otherwise it can cause confusion if you have your folder and it's got 2 or 3 years in it. Now it says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday there, but please remember some of the forms that we have. Just remember that clinical staff at this moment in time, you need to be doing your checks at the change of every shift just to make sure that your corridors are nice and clear. Weekly door checks, so you need to be signing for these. These are all in your logbooks, quite straightforward. Emergency lighting, making sure that they're all okay. Usually if they're buzzing or bleeping, usually a fault with them, or if they're flashing like mad. Fire extinguishers, making sure that they are where they should be, that all the working parts are there. And as we've just talked about, that you can see them, they're clearly visible and available for use, and that it's in its test state. And again, your weekly fire alarm checks there. On a Wednesday in the Bradford Royal Infirmary, you need to make sure that you can hear your fire alarms when they're testing them. So if you've heard it, you need to report it in the logbook. And I think it's Thursday for St Luke's. So those are your checking sheets there. So your day-to-day fire safety checks may involve changing your route to or from the workplace and observing anything untoward. It may involve volunteering to assist the workplace fire safety audit. That's just to make sure that all these checks that you've just seen are being carried out. Your day-to-day safety checks are not intended to be too onerous, but by simply promoting good fire safety practice will maintain a safe and proud workplace. So the next few slides then are examples of what may be found. So if you look at the one on the left there, workmen usually tend to do this. They cover it up because they're creating loads of dust. They don't want the fire alarm going off there. And the fire smoke detection system on the right there, you don't need to be putting loads of linen all the way up to that. You need a good half metre to a metre's clearance there. If it's obstructed and there's a fire in that area, it'll be some time before that alarm goes off if it's obstructed. Looking at the electrical equipment here, we don't have extension leads or the little block ones there. And looking up the right there, that's combustible materials all up against electrical equipment. So again, it's down to good housekeeping. Your main route there, I'm sure you can spot the routes there, electrical hazards, your fire escape routes blocked. If you look at the extinguishers on the right there, they're obstructed. You know, people may run straight past that looking for extinguishers, not be able to find it. Fire escape signage needs to be clearly marked. So we need to be keeping these corridors nice and clear. And if we look at this storage cylinders, they need to be stored correctly and in a locked room, marking oxygen cylinders or whatever you have in that room. So when the fire alarm sounds then, the fire warden should act quickly in establishing the need to implement the fire evacuation procedures efficiently and effectively. So we're going to take a look at the role in action, and we'll discuss afterwards, or maybe not, with the present situation, the issues. So a quick video coming up for you here.
This programme is about your role as a fire warden. What you need to know to help ensure that your premises is evacuated quickly and efficiently. And how you can help ensure that a fire doesn't start at your workplace. Everyone in your organisation should have been trained in the procedures to be followed if a fire were to break out. Before taking any other action, everyone should know that if they discover a fire, they must raise the alarm. Regardless of the type of fire alarm, if it activates and a constant alarm can be heard, anyone without a specific duty should begin to evacuate using the nearest available fire exit. Fire wardens will normally be responsible for checking areas which are near to their desk or workplace, and realistically should take no more than 1 minute to check their designated area. All areas should be checked thoroughly and must include toilets, stock rooms, or areas which are not normally visited. Once the search has been completed, go to the assembly point and remember to tell the person in charge about any room that has not been searched. Your role in the day-to-day fire safety of the company or organisation is equally important. as preventing fire is largely common sense and requires no special skills. As part of your normal daily routine, fire escape routes should be checked to ensure they are free from obstructions. And that includes those leading from the building. Fire alarm call points need to be visible and kept free from obstructions at all times. All firefighting equipment should be available and visible, and never be used to prop a door open. Arson is a particular problem, so any skips, rubbish bins, or combustible materials should be stored well away from the building. Most fires occur between the hours of 6 at night and 6 in the morning, when everybody has gone home for the day. So make sure that your building is safe from fire, or it may end up looking like this.
Right, so that is non-clinical staff. So when the fire alarm activates, the fire warden is getting the yellow tabard and the logbook, and they're making sure that everybody is safely evacuating from their premises. If you are in an office, you're not the fire warden, you hear the fire alarm going off, you should be standing up, closing your windows, leaving the room, closing the door, and following your nearest fire safety exit route. The fire warden shouldn't spend more than a minute trying to evacuate people, making sure that everybody is evacuated safely. And don't forget, once everybody's gone to their assembly point, you need to be doing a roll call for all the staff and making sure that nobody else enters that building. Once the fire service turn up, report as much information as you possibly can to them. So we're going to have another look at a human behaviour video here, and this is so common, is this, people just do not tend to act to fire alarms. And I'm sure you've all been in the same situation yourself, whether it's you've been out shopping somewhere, you've been in a precinct and the fire alarm's gone off, and you're just sort of like looking for other people to lead the role in whether you evacuate or what you do. So it just shows you what a fire warden can do, how it can get people moving.
It's helpful to look at a simple example of how people react when they hear a fire alarm. It's quite often not how you would think. We've got some hidden cameras in this room and have invited a group of people to participate in what they think is a market research session on education and training. They've been told that they're going to take part in a group discussion and be interviewed in a separate room once they've filled out a short questionnaire.
If you could just make a start filling out the questionnaire, and then we're just going to have a bit of a group discussion afterwards. So we won't obviously keep you any more than the hour. So thank you very much for coming as well. So I'm just going to nip out to see if there's any other latecomers or anything. And so if you can just start filling them out, that'd be brilliant.
The trainer excuses herself from the room and leaves the participants to complete the questionnaire. Research shows that if people don't know what's happening, it can have an adverse effect on the way they behave. They often don't react at all when they hear an alarm or smell smoke. They go into denial. They don't think they're in danger, and so they ignore the situation completely. The group is totally unaware that we're about to set off a fire alarm in the corridor outside the room. It'll be a conventional fire bell. Let's take a look at how our group reacts. As you can see, they all hear the alarm, but they don't really react. Though they do start to talk about what might be happening.
Can we just get up and go?
Can we just run?
School bell's out. Yeah. Attention now.
The group is displaying a classic behaviour pattern. They don't know how to interpret the alarm. People often talk amongst themselves or joke about evacuating the building and don't take it very seriously, even though they have no way of knowing what's going on outside the room they're in. They try to gather information from sources around them, but unless they're able to convince themselves that there really is a fire, they will not move. They wait for someone to take charge and tell them what to do. In fact, the amusing discussion of whether they should leave the room or not is soon forgotten, and they all return to filling out the questionnaire. 3.5 minutes after the alarm has been set off, a lady finally gets up from her chair. But only to get a drink for herself and the people she's sitting with, and she soon returns to her seat. The alarm continues to sound. It's not until a further 2 minutes has passed that one of the participants actually gets up and leaves the room to find out what's happening. Notice how she exited the room. This is another piece of classic behaviour, going out the way you came in, when it might not necessarily be the safest way. Notice on the other side of the room there is a fire exit. This leads directly outside the building, a much quicker and safer route of escape. So in total, 5.5 minutes passed from the start of the alarm to someone getting up and taking the lead. In the event of a real fire, time is of the essence, and minutes wasted could be fatal. This proves that if people only have a single stimulus, the alarm bell, they don't know what to do. They need more.
Today we were all sitting in a room completing questionnaires and a fire alarm went off, and we all kind of sat here and looked around and mentioned the fact that there was an alarm going off, and we all just sat.
I just thought maybe it was an alarm test, and just assumed that if it was a real life fire or whatever it might have been, that somebody would have opened the door and said, "Get out."
My first reaction really was, okay, I suppose we better sort of make our way out. And then obviously I looked at everyone else and nobody moved, so I thought, well, okay, I'll just wait and I'll just carry on with the form. And it honestly didn't seem that long that the alarm was going off.
I think everybody sort of looked around, and we didn't react because we kind of were following like little sheep for each other, I think.
I think the general thing was kind of, okay, we're not going anywhere, let's just finish this off and wait. I think the general thing was everyone was waiting for something to happen.
You could see people looking at each other thinking, is somebody going to be coming in a minute?
A lady sat there, I think, said, she said, do you think we should get up and go? And then no one really sort of responded to that, so she sort of kept quiet.
I have to say I wasn't particularly bothered, was a bit sort of nonchalant about it because I have worked in large organisations that have frequent fire tests, alarm tests, and so it didn't freak me out, and I just thought, you're all right, which could have been wrong, because it might have been that one occasion where it wasn't all right.
I started feeling a little bit uncomfortable the longer the alarm went off, and I suppose in the beginning I did want to leave, but I think it's probably human nature. You expect someone to come in and say, right, there is a drill. I mean, I half expected everyone to be sort of piled out in the car park and us just sitting here, but you do, that's what's going through your head, but in reality you just sit there and wait for something to happen, some sort of direction, which obviously didn't happen. So
especially if you're not a very confident person, and I'm not saying I'm not, but especially not a very confident person would expect somebody else to take charge, and nobody took charge, and so we all just sat here.
But you're right, you should react to it, but even in shops and things, when you hear it, people just carry on, and unless someone physically gets up and says, okay, everyone out, you don't do anything.
Our experiment and responses from our participants confirms that the conventional alarm sound does not provide enough information to get people to take action. So there's a need for more information. How would the same scenario be different if we introduced a fire warden into the situation? Let's take a look. As before, we've invited a group of people to join a market research session. The trainer makes an excuse to leave the room while they fill out a questionnaire.
No talking. Industry sector.
Oh, right, okay.
The alarm bell sounds.
6 calls out.
You will see that the man in the centre of the screen is noticeably anxious. But because no one else appears to share his concern, he decides to do nothing. There is little reaction from the participants until a fire warden enters the room.
You're going to walk out that door, there's going to be fire everywhere.
Nobody knows we're here.
Have your attention, please. Fire alarms have been activated, so can you please make your way to the fire exit, leaving your personal belongings.
Shortly after the alarm sounds, and the fire warden has entered the room giving clear instructions, the room is empty. That's compared with the 5.5 minutes that it took the first group to leave, proving how differently people will react in a situation given more information.
Initially, the fire alarm goes off. I'm expecting it to stop, because most of these things do. But it kept going, and I kept looking up. Actually, I was trying to look for smoke on each of the exits. I didn't actually notice the fire escape sign above the door, because, I don't know, I would always assume fire escapes to be marked as red. And I didn't see anyone else moving, but as time went on, I started to get a little bit disturbed about the fact.
I felt a bit sort of nervous and apprehensive, and I did wonder whether it was real. So I looked around and saw everybody else, you know, seemed to be carrying on with the questionnaire, and I was a bit worried because of the room that we're in. You know, it seemed sort of quite enclosed. So I was looking around for the fire exit and saw the one behind. So I was just really waiting for somebody to come in and tell us to leave, really.
Once it's sort of carried on for a while, I noticed a lot more people were looking around thinking what is going on, which made me start to worry a bit more, thinking I better start doing something, or someone better come in and tell us what to do, because no one was coming in.
Initially it was a bit of cause for concern. What's actually going on? This doesn't seem right. Then, because of the reactions of everyone else around, if there was something to panic about, everyone would be panicking.
Initially we didn't move because we thought we had to carry on doing the questionnaire. And it's only when the fire warden came in that we then stood up and moved.
Or when the man came through the door with the bright yellow jacket on and asked us to evacuate, then I thought, oh crumbs, this is serious.
As soon as he walked in, everyone had full attention on what he had to say, and as soon as he said get up and make your way to the exit, everyone just done exactly as we were told. There weren't no questioning about it at the time. I don't think anyone wanted to question it really, but I don't think if there's no one there to take the leadership, we would have sat there for a while.
And having a specific person come in clearly with a vest on, so you could see that he was something to do with the building, to tell us that it was a fire and we should all leave. I don't need anyone else to tell me twice. That's it, I'm gone.
It was certainly reassuring to know that we hadn't been forgotten and that someone came and tried to find us.
I was relieved that he came in, especially since he was like, you know, you knew what he was there for. I was relieved that someone was actually going to take charge and like take us out of the building, rather than us just sitting there not knowing what to do.
I think without the fire warden, people do just tend to ignore the alarm. They assume until someone comes and says something's wrong that there really isn't anything wrong, and it is probably just a fire drill, and at the end of the day people don't want to have to go out in the cold and they'd rather just carry on doing what they're doing. This experiment clearly shows how important the role of a fire warden can be in a fire evacuation situation. With clear and confident instruction, the room was emptied swiftly and safely.
Right, so that gives a good example of the duties of the fire wardens, mainly in a non-clinical area. So they're clearing the room a lot quicker, getting people out of the building and possibly saving people's lives. So you can see there the human behaviour. It's all listed there: peer pressure, people not wanting to look foolish, lack of understanding information, not wanting to believe it's happening, disregard, unconvinced, and they just carry on working, complacency, seeking guidance from other people. If someone refuses to leave, what would you do? Would you wait until a panic occurs? Which is what we're trying to avoid. So the physical capabilities and limitations of occupants. Ensure you are aware of disabled members of staff within your area. So we've done as PEEPS forms. They should have been completed. The policy is available on the fire safety intranet page. So in assisting an effective evacuation of occupants, there are other limitations which may have to be considered. Age, health, they're going to be a lot slower. Visible, smoke, fire, heat. If once the smoke gets onto the corridor, it's going to reduce your visibility greatly. And the heat, once you start feeling the heat, you're going to start panicking. All these will have an effect on the individual's reaction. So they'll be certainly look initially for assistance, which is you, the fire warden. Okay, assisting people out. So we may have people in wheelchairs. If we have to take them down a staircase, you're going to be struggling at the staircase. You may have to put them in a holding area at the top while everybody else gets down the staircase, and alerting people. So these people are definitely going to need help. Possibly security or porters may help in situations like that. You may have to use evacuation chairs. We have a few of them in the hospital where they are people have been trained on them. But if you do a PEEPS and you need one of these, then this is what you need to be applying for. So your evacuation then, doing your sweep procedures, you need to be putting in your yellow tabard. You need to gather any relevant information so you can pass on to the fire, during the fire evacuation, you can pass on to the fire service. You need to be doing your sweep search thoroughly to make sure that everybody is leaving that area. You need to be doing this in round about a minute. You need to be checking all accessible rooms, including toilets, as you go. And you need, if you can, start from the furthest end, working your way back to the fire exit. If possible, encourage staff as they leave to turn off equipment, also closing doors and windows if possible. They need to report to the fire assembly point, coordinate a roll call and inform the fire response teams or services of anyone missing or waiting further assistance in a fire refuge area. So that could be where you've got people in the wheelchairs waiting in a certain area to be evacuated. Right, so a few questions and answers here. What happens if a fire warden is not on the floor when the alarm sounds? Again, they must report to the fire assembly point and report no sweep has been done. If a deputy warden is in situ, then they should pick up the surcoat, the yellow tabard, and they should carry on with their duties. What extra duties, responsibilities may a fire warden be asked to do? They may wish to assist in the local fire induction awareness, refresher, training with a fire advisor, and the department head still retains overall responsibility for the fire safety. So, how often will I need a refresher? Right, this is going to be non-clinical staff. It's going to be for at least 2 years at this moment in time. Where should the fire warden tabard be located? Right, your tabard should remain on the ward or department with the logbook, because if the fire alarm goes off, you need your logbook and you need your yellow tabard. What happens when the fire warden is off and there is no deputy? If that is the case, if you have no fire wardens in place at that moment in time, then it's a senior person in charge that has the ultimate responsibility to ensure that everybody safely evacuates from that area. Who monitors the fire warden and their continued training? Well, this is up to the manager to ensure that trained fire wardens are in place on a daily basis. Just going off it now, we have some of your door releases here and your break glass call points there. So if you look at the top there, the fire one, that's your break glass call point. You just press there and your fire alarm activates. So if you come across a fire, you suspect there's a fire, just press that and that will activate your fire alarm. Don't get confused with the green ones. Those are your emergency door release ones. The new ones that are coming out now are the ones that are on the right, and you'll find these in areas on the wards leading to an external fire exit. This is to stop people using these doors, like you may have elderly people, they're a bit confused, they're going out the doors. How do you know that they've gone out? So it's two different types. If it's green, it's active, everything's okay. If it turns and flashes red, it means that that door is activated and somebody's left through that door. So you possibly know that a patient has wandered out through that door. Emergency lighting, as we talked about earlier on, if they're buzzing or bleeping, it's usually faulty, or if they're flashing like mad. So you need to report these to the estates department. Right, this mainly now is going to be for the clinical staff. So if we have a fire in a clinical area, we need to be evacuating people beyond 2 sets of fire doors. So the red zone is going to be where the fire area is, and when we get them beyond 1 set of fire doors, that will lead us into the amber zone area, and through the next set of fire doors, that will lead us into the green zone area. So the green zone area then is going to be a place of relative safety for us. This area is not going to be involved in the incident, and don't forget, we may need to have to move further back from the green zone area, so don't be taking people into a little side room. You need, there can't be a further evacuated from that area. So if you have to move further back, always make sure you can keep moving further back until eventually you're outside the building if need be. Your amber zone area then, this is going to be a logistics area, because to evacuate the red zone area, you may need oxygen cylinders. You may need evacuation aids. So this is going to be a holding area for that equipment. And your red zone area then, this is a danger area. This is where we're evacuating from, so we're getting beyond 2 sets of fire doors from the red, amber to the green zone areas. And remember, under no circumstances does anybody get into these areas without proper authorisation, which is your ID badge. So we're going to check that persons have left the area. We're preventing persons from entering back into that fire area. So the fire warden at the red zone area, the red zone fire warden will be collecting ID badges from any person entering into the red zone area with the purpose of evacuating that area. Maintain up-to-date log of all your occupants and liaise with the hospital responders, which is going to be your fire crews, it's going to be other fire wardens attending, it's going to be the estates department, it's going to be the fire service that will be turning up. So here is what we're talking about now. You've got the fire in the red zone area here. So this is where we're evacuating from. So when we're getting everybody out of this area, remember, it's on the orders of the person in charge, never the fire warden. Everybody's evacuating this area. If we haven't found a fire, people will be searching for signs of fire. But once we have found a fire and we are evacuating, people are coming out of this area. So the red zone warden will be stood at this point here, monitoring people coming out. And if people need to go back into that area with the purpose of evacuating, they need to hand over their ID badges to you. So you're logging them in, and when they come back out, you give them their ID badges back so you know that they're out. The fire wardens that are receiving an intermittent alarm from another area will be looking at the fire alarm panel and proceeding up to this department. Once they get up there, they will be liaising with the fire warden, the red zone fire warden. The fire warden will be informing them that they have had a serious fire, it's ongoing, that the order has been given by the person in charge to evacuate. You may need certain pieces of equipment to evacuate that area. You may need oxygen cylinders, you may need ski pads, you may need bariatric evacuation mats. So the fire wardens that are attending to aid and assist with this, the red zone area, will then find a safe area somewhere in the amber or the green zone area with a landline phone. They will then contact their own department and inform them that there's a serious fire in this area. We need all available staff to attend this area as quickly as possible. If they do need any equipment, tell them over the phone there and then. We need oxygen cylinders, we need ski pads. If you don't tell them there, once they get all the way up to you, if they haven't got that equipment, you're just going to have to waste time sending them away for that equipment again. So at this point now, the amber zone warden will take up position there, and the green zone warden will take up position at the entrance into this area, the ward area. You may need another green zone warden at this point here if there's two ways into it. So, what do you expect from responders? You expect them to get evacuation aids for you. As you can see here, the ski pads. You may need wheelchairs. The fire service will be turning up. They will need your logbook. There's all kinds of vital information in that logbook that they will need. So that's one of the reasons why you bring your logbook out with you. However, if you are attending another ward or department, do not bring your logbook from your ward or department to the area that they are having a fire, because if you do that, the fire service will then have the wrong information. Right, moving on to fire extinguishers now. As you all know, we have two different types of fire extinguishers in the trust, foam and CO2. The foam one then is ideal for wood, paper, clothing, bedding, small oil and grease fires. We do not put it on electrical fires because it is water based. Now, at the top of the extinguishers here, they are the same on both extinguishers. You have a carrying handle here, and this is top lever there. It's like a firing pin. When you pull that pin out, you squeeze those two levers together, the contents of the extinguisher will come out of the hose here. So all you need to do is just point it at the base of the fire, and with a sweeping motion just activate the extinguisher. We're talking about small fires, something about the size of a waste paper bin. Anything bigger than that, it'd be too dangerous to tackle. One for electrics then is your CO2 extinguisher. Again, what you will do is you'll position the horn. Once you position the horn, don't touch it again, because it's a freezing cold fog agent that comes out of this. When this is activated, it makes a loud noise, so just be aware of that. If you can, try to switch off the electrical socket, because that's what's feeding the fire in the first place. If it's involved in the fire, it's too dangerous, you feel unsure, then don't go anywhere near the socket. Be careful of anything glass that is involved in the fire, because if you stand directly in front of it, the glass could shatter, possibly injure yourself. So stand to the side of it, attacking it from the side. Always keep your back to the fire exit door, so if the fire develops, you can turn your back on the fire and walk to a place of safety. And if you can, where possible, always have somebody else with you. Fire blankets then, they can be used to extinguish small fires. That's just simply, you just pull the tabs at the bottom and hold it at the top, and you just slowly put it over the fire, and it should extinguish the fire that way. I think we only have these now in the kitchen areas. Right, and please remember the 112 number. A member of staff must dial this number within 2 minutes from a landline phone to confirm either a fire, give your exact location and say what is on fire, or state whether it's a false alarm. If it's a false alarm, give your reasons for it being a false alarm, or it could be that no sign of fire, you are still investigating. As soon as you can confirm the reasons as to what the alarm's gone off, whether it's a false alarm or a fire, again, dial 112 and inform switchboard of your findings. Remember, this 112 is on a landline phone, it's not from your mobile phones, and it's only in this trust. Outside this trust, please remember, it's 999. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Any questions? If not, thank you very much.